Here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Newsmakers' third annual Rockin' New Year's Eve show. I'm Jerry Roberts, the Ryan Seacrest of Santa Barbara, and I'm delighted to welcome in our expanded and extra special panel of guests from the worlds of Santa Barbara news and politics to take a look back at the stories we'll remember from 2023 and those we're looking forward to or dreading in 2024. And as we like to say at Newsmakers, predictions are hard to make, especially about the future. So, let me welcome in the guests who've already joined us, and we're expecting several others to beam in as we go. Lily Dallow, the digital media editor of KEYT. Josh Molina, politics and policy reporter for Newshawk. Meagan Harmon, city councilwoman of Santa Barbara's District 6. Yes, see, I'm going to learn these really soon. And Mayor Randy Rowse, his honor himself, who's coming in the closest thing to a sane man left at City Hall. And on our way,
so it begins.
Coming in, I don't want to tip my hand here too soon, Megan. Is Nick Welsh, who'll be joining us hopefully momentarily. But first, because we're all about breaking news here, we do have some breaking news, and I'm going to call on Councilwoman Harmon to tell us what that is as we usher in 2024. Megan, what's up?
Oh, thank you, Jerry. Well, I thought because it was exactly 2 years ago, I think today, that I introduced my baby son, Jack, who had just been born to the world, that it was only fitting that I use this platform to make the official announcement that I'm having another baby. And the baby will be here in a couple of months, and it will hopefully conclude my very valiant effort to take the title of most children born to a sitting council member ever.
Yes.
I think this will conclude it. We'll see.
Now, will you and your long-suffering husband still be playing zone defense, or you got? I mean, man-to-man defense. You're going to have to go to the zone now, right?
Well, you have 3. You tell me.
Yes,
is this a big change? I mean,
yeah, it's horrible.
I'm
really,
planning to just drop them at your house with your grandkids.
I strongly don't recommend it.
I think Megan, at this point, you want to run for as many offices as you can. So that you will not be at home to spend
Nick,
time with your family.
Amen to that, brother. That's true.
Nick, your sound is still having problems there.
In case anyone didn't get it, he recommended that I keep running for office so that I just don't have to be at home, which I'm not going to say that aligns with my plan, but.
Well, yeah. It's okay. All right, let's start in. Let's start talking about 2023. Josh, let me start with you, because obviously I guess the number 1, 2, and 3 issues were all about housing, but there were so many different pieces of it. There was Das Williams trying to screw the city at La Cumbre Plaza, the big Paseo Nuevo lease that's coming up, rent spikes, rent evictions, and Randy Rouse's STR strike force. What are you going to remember as the biggest story of 2023?
Well, probably you and me and Nick Welsh sitting in room 15 at Santa Barbara City Hall with Rebecca Bjork when she was talking about how Paseo Nuevo is going to be demolished and they want to build at least 500 units of housing. I think that's a huge story because Paseo Nuevo is this anchor of downtown and this iconic mall and structure that has really declined in recent years. And to build housing there, that's huge. And that's going to change everything going on downtown if it ever happens. I know Rebecca wanted to have it signed, sealed, and delivered by today, but I don't know that that's going to happen. But it's certainly everything is moving in that direction. So housing downtown, the loss of the mall, something small will stay there. I think that's a huge story that affects so much of the other stories going on with State Street, with the decline of retail, with the need for more housing. And so that's a huge deal. The other big story is the backdrop that I have, which is the death of the Santa Barbara News Press, which has been dying since the day you walked out of that building, Jerry, and it officially ended this year. And the same year as what was the 15-year anniversary of the movie. So how fitting is that? But the loss, the daily paper was lost years ago. It was just sort of on fumes, but it was something. It was information, and just sort of on principle, and just the fact that we had a community newspaper and now it's gone is a very tragic, sad day, because less information is not good, even if that information was sparse and leaning in a certain direction. It's still that's a huge story. And what happens to that building, maybe Randy and Meagan will be able to tell us.
All right, Mayor, what you agree with Josh that the Paseo Nuevo is the #1 story from where you sit?
Well, it certainly would be the most transformational story in almost a generation for Santa Barbara. I was around when they did the original, the original RDA, and we redid basically the old shotgun shacks on State Street and the Old Town Mall to bring the Paseo Nuevo to where it is. And then with the big anchor tenants dying like they did, and housing still being a need, always has been a need. It's a perpetual need. It's a great solution. Now, can it come to fruition? Those are the kind of numbers that I can't even imagine. It's a $500 million project. And as soon as interest rates tweak up a point or half a point, all of a sudden the deal just changes for everybody. So we'll see how it goes, but we're certainly trying to remain optimistic about it. It really would be the highest and best use for that piece of property.
All right, Councilwoman, I'm inclined to say that the biggest story of the year from your perspective was your deciding not to vote on the baseball field renovation at UCSB, but you may have other thoughts, so just chime right in here.
Well, I've certainly got probably the angriest emails as it pertains to that vote. For sure. I know. I think half of them are actually from your burner accounts, but that's still TBD. I agree. I think I wasn't going to sort of drill down and necessarily say Paseo Nuevo was the biggest story, but I was also thinking housing more at a macro level. What I've seen over the year in particular is a real transition sort of away from the dichotomy between no growth and pro-housing and more toward a consensus about the need for housing. The conversation now is about whether we're going to do all housing or capital A only. And that to me has been a really, really significant shift in the tone of conversation.
Capital A being affordable. Yes.
Capital A being affordable to the very lowest income community members. So that was huge. And I do think, some no growth folks may have aligned themselves with the capital A affordable position as a mechanism for not getting housing in the community. That remains to be seen. But the conversation's shifted and it's happened project by project. It's been iterative, but it's been profound.
All right, Lily, you have a fascinating perspective on the news in Santa Barbara because you run the social media accounts for KUIT. We were talking just before we came on about that huge wave in Ventura that swept trucks and guys away all over the place. And you said we have like 137,000 views so far, or something like that. So, based on that, what did you see as the biggest stories in Santa Barbara this year?
Kind of on that same topic, definitely the storms last winter. Those were huge, especially on the 5-year anniversary, like to the day of the mudslides. That was a huge story. Pretty much anytime we have any big news weather related, that always takes off, especially on social media. And like when it snowed up in the mountains, all of those videos, and just the flooding. Like we had one of our reporters, Patricia Martellotti, was out just walking around with the videographer trying to find people on the street to talk to, and she saw that guy that was canoe. I think it was a canoe, just like
Canoeing,
right.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there with all my monitors and I saw that, like, they weren't filming, but it was all go mode. We were like, start recording right now, we'll go live. And she was like trying to waddle after that guy, and he came up and they did their interview. And I think they used that shot in just about every promo we've had. But Yeah, those were probably the biggest stories
And of course,
that I've
yeah,
seen.
and you're right about the anniversary. And of course, whenever we talk about weather stories, now we also have to talk about climate change as well, which is probably the biggest story of all. Nick, I know you're inclined to say the biggest story of the year was electric bikes coming to for their own lane onto State Street, but just to pretend for a moment that there's other things going on here in town and in the world. What do you
Jerry,
remember?
I'm gonna make a deal
Oh
with
no!
you. I want to talk about electric bikes, and you're gonna talk about Josh Williams.
All right, hey Nick, you got it. Your
Yeah.
sound is
Can you hear me?
sound is messed up. Your sound is messed up. Can you check your sound somehow?
Is
We're
that
having-
any better?
No, now you're frozen and we can't hear
You
you.
could turn off your video for a couple minutes. Your sound will sound better that way.
I'd say try to turn off your Wi-Fi and turn it back on your computer. Or that.
Okay.
Start talking.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, yes. Just keep that
Okay,
off for a
all
couple
right.
seconds or a
All
couple.
right, I like that idea.
Good. Go
yeah.
for it.
As much as I like to say electric bikes are the big story, no, I have to say it's housing, 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 and housing. I think what we've seen, you have Paseo Nuevo. I definitely have to agree with Josh's issues, but the other flip side of that is 650 units proposed at the Coomber Mall. So our two major retail citadels are basically saying we're done, we're toast. And the fact that you have the elimination of all that retail space for housing all at the same time is massive. The other thing, though, is the response by organized tenants to push city halls to come up with, and the county board of supervisors and the city of Toledo to come up with emergency protections is totally unprecedented. And of course, you have the state of California putting a gun barrel to the head of local government saying, thou shalt build, you like it or not, is huge. And we really don't know what the ramifications of that will be. I will just point out this one story that Ryan Cruz did, which is my favorite story of the year. It was the first case of builder's remedy in Santa Barbara, involved a former plastic surgeon who took liposuction out, took the fat out of people through liposuction, turned it into diesel fuel, and then when that operation was run out of town, he and his wife, whose last name is Smith, went into the cannabis industry, the cannabis warehouse industry in LA. And then they magnanimously decided to move to Santa Barbara so they should become affordable housing flippers. And so they're trying to build a bunch of units up on the mesa to help solve Santa Barbara's housing problem.
All right.
So
All right.
the lipo-diesel housing solution is my favorite here.
Right. And let's not forget, before we leave housing for a moment, 425 Santa Barbara Street, Barry Capello versus Ed St. George. Will we require parking or not? No. Why would we need parking? The beginning of the end for Santa Barbara. Thanks very much, Meagan Harmon, for that one. All right. I promise not to
Hey,
belabor.
Barry, hey, that's why we need electric bikes, Jerry. Come on.
Exactly.
To ask the question is to answer it.
Jerry, I don't think we want another angry letter defending Meagan Harmon, even though she fully can defend herself. So maybe we should tone it down.
All right, I'm gonna welcome in my partner Hap Freund here, who's calling in from who knows where. He'll be with us in a second, but before we, I want to pick up on Nick's point real briefly about weed and the cannabis growing element of that story. And of course, weed was a huge story this year because there are no revenues for it. The revenues that were going to save us are all down, down, down. People are bailing out, but yet the county keeps printing those permits. Why would we reduce the number of permits anyway? Okay, that concludes my rant on that. Randy, let me ask you about State Street, and I know you and Councilwoman Harmon are in great agreement on all of these issues. How's
Much
that
like everything
9
else.
block promenade looking these days?
Well, I think it's pretty self-evident, Jerry. I'm not so sure I have to say a whole lot about it. We've got 4 years of, nothing. So the question is, what do we do? You know, we're about ready to wrap up the SSAC and the MIG consultant work, which has been fine. And
Is that the $800,000?
yeah, but you know, it's what do we do in the interim? Because no matter what we do or say about the plan, it's still going to take forever to come to a consensus on what we really want to do with the results. And then the other thing would be, how do we finance anything? We've already taken money out of streets to paint the bike lanes, this temporary thing. It just doesn't make any sense. The biggest 3 buildings downtown that were big fans of the promenade when it first happened, which was the Balboa building, the La Ricotta, and the Granada, have all 180 degrees saying you have to open up the street again. And the reason isn't because of some kind of strange logic or dream or whatever. It's the results. And what have we seen? We've seen nothing.
What imagined past are you hoping we return to? We have had so many margaritas discussing this, and I just can't. It's like,
I'm not done. I'm not done with you yet, Miss Harmon, by the way. But
what are we going back to? That, I mean,
well,
what
the thing is,
imagined past
here's what you're saying. You're saying what I'm thinking of is old thinking. And I go, the 70s.
I didn't say that. You said that.
No, this is what you people are saying. I say you people, you generational people. No, what the deal is this is old thinking was back in the 70s and whatnot, when the mall idea, the urban mall was struck. And by 1978, there were over 200 of them in the country. They're less than 20 now. What does that tell you? That tells you that it hasn't worked. Plus, the ones that have worked, like Boulder, were planned out, were done, were financed with grant financing, and then constructed like you would for, any other project on the planet. We're trying to reverse engineer this. We said, we got a closed street. Now what do we do? And people like the idea of a closed street, but they don't understand or don't understand how to make the execution work to where it's successful. And I don't have to argue with Meagan about this. I just have to walk out the door and go, what have we got? The answer is nothing.
Ms. Harmon, how do you respond?
Well, I think I told this story last year, so clearly this is an ongoing debate. But
Everybody watches this show won't remember.
That's
Don't
true.
worry about it.
It's true.
Yeah,
I
all three of them.
remember before we closed the street, I mean, I live right off of State Street. My daughter and I were taking a walk down the street, and I saw an actual tumbleweed tumbling down the street. That's how empty it was. There was no one there. There was no activity. And I totally will cede the fact that there needs to be improvements. That goes without saying. But there is activity. There is life. There are people downtown. And I think that means there's something we can build on. It wasn't there before.
There's nothing, all I have to do is look at the number of vacancies, the retail vacancies, the restaurants that are closing have been leaving, including the ones with parklets. And then I look at other areas. I look at Carp. I look at Coastal Village Road. I look at Cali Real out in Goleta. They are on an upswing. They're on an uptick. And all over the country, small retail is coming back. The big department stores, yeah, that ship has sailed. But when you talk about going back a few years, Meagan, let me go back a few years with y'all here. And that is, since I was down here for 38 years, just, my fellow
older than me, Randy.
Yeah, but I've seen these cycles before. That's what drove us to do the Paseo Nuevo in the first place, was a downturn in what was going on. We had blight. That's what RDA was there to address. We built it up and it worked for a while, and now it's gone through another down cycle. But right before the retail thing took a dive, we had one of the lowest vacancy rates in the entire state. And I just had a glass of wine with Jim Armstrong. We were talking about that in 1910, 2010, 2011 and whatnot. We had, we were less than 1% vacancy.
All right.
And, so now we are where we are. But the thing is, other agencies like San Luis Obispo is a great example, have charged back. San Luis Obispo is at 8% vacancy right now, which is still high for them, but it's a heck of an improvement.
All right. I was not planning on moderating a political debate, but Meagan, I've got 30 more seconds here. Go ahead.
No, I I totally understand the frustration about the improvements that need to be made, and I agree. But we have the heart of something here, and I have hope and belief that what we as a community can grow out of what exists is something that will be transformational and will continue to bring joy to our downtown for years.
And I look at it, I was down there Christmas Eve, walking around, and there were a lot of folks there. But there was nobody from here down there.
This is good
Let me
content,
welcome
Jerry.
in, let me just welcome in my partner, Hap Freund, real brief. Are you in the woods or is that?
No, where are you?
I couldn't
Huh?
get my virtual background off. I'm actually in my backyard, but
Oh, really?
my
Oh.
backyard does not look like this. My backyard is about the size of a postage stamp.
Okay, all right. Well,
It
that's
just
about
makes
the
me
size
feel
of
like
it.
I'm in the woods.
All right. So listen, Hap, I know you read and watched all of Lily's reporting on how flag football has exploded in Santa Barbara, but I want you to explain to her why pickleball is a much bigger and more important phenomenon.
Well, it's noisier, as Josh will tell you. Funny thing, that's why I'm late. I was playing pickleball. At a regular game.
All right.
You know,
So
my wife hates football, and she doesn't understand why they don't have professional flag football leagues. So maybe, well, it won't be in my lifetime because of how old I am, but maybe in Lily's lifetime, they'll, you know, with all the CTEs and stuff, you know, and kids not playing it anymore. Maybe someday there will be professional flag
It'll
football.
be in
Sounds
the
terrible.
Olympics coming up.
it's going to be in the Olympics, Hap.
Yeah.
You'll still be around in July.
For the Olympics, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm going to get this show produced. All right. What are you going to remember news-wise from 2023, pal?
Oh gosh. Well, I remember our event at the Luke, which was great. I was surprised it cost us more money because it was so successful.
Yeah, the showing of the Citizen McCaw. Josh picked up on as you can see, the
Right. I see Josh's
Department news
background. I
press.
assume that's a virtual background. He's not sitting in front of the empty news press building. You know, I caught the tail end of Meagan and Randy, but I will have to say that before COVID, I remember walking on State Street and counting the number of empty buildings. This is not a COVID phenomena. I mean, I would say several years before COVID, I remember walking and I was walking with my wife and I would say, there's an empty, like on one block, there were like 7, 8 empty buildings. I mean, so it'd be nice if we could, I don't think anything's going to happen. But when it does happen, I hope it looks uniform and not as tacky as it does now. It's just, I think it's really
All
terrible. What else do I remember? Well,
That's all right. Well,
I
think about it.
thought one good story was the
All right, come on.
rats or no rats under the parklets, whether or not there were really rats there.
Oh, excellent. Hey, okay, Lily, did you get a lot of traffic on the rats, the rat infestation on State Street?
And the
Not a
interviews
whole lot
with
on social media, but I remember the story. I remember seeing it in Newshawk.
Randy
People in New
Rowse
York
got-
saw it, Jerry, and I don't know why I should be writing about it because people won't be coming to Santa Barbara because of that terrible headline. That's
And
what I
I
heard.
never used the R word, by the way. The word I used was vector. That's how you say that word in polite
Vermin.
company. So I never
We
said
don't use
R
the word
to
vermin
anybody ever.
anymore either.
Well, the Natural Cafe guy said rats. so-
Yeah, Kelly's a little expressive, as you know.
Hey, Nick, your reporting, of course, is singular on the issue of mentally ill people on the street, homelessness, so on and so forth. We had some progress on both those areas this year with building some housing for homeless people, as well as apparently some progress on the 5150 authorization for police for people who are obviously having trouble on the street. Yeah, are you any more optimistic than you were at the beginning of the year about these advances? Nope, Nick's frozen again.
You know, this is like a slow moving blob, but it is. What's that?
Turn your
Can you hear me?
turn your picture off again.
All right.
There you
It's a slow moving blob, but it's. I just said
It's better now.
it's a slow moving blob, but it's moving in the right direction. You know, sometime in 5 years from now, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me all right?
yeah,
Yes.
we got you. Loud and clear.
Fuck. All right.
Keep talking.
Oh, you can hear me? All
Yeah,
right.
it's a slow moving blob,
5
but
years
it's
from now,
moving
we're
in the
gonna
right
have
direction.
more, yeah. Good. All right. Thank you. In January, the police are gonna start picking people up for 5150 and trying to find them a place. Earlier last year, the sheriffs started doing that. 5150 being people who pose a threat to themselves or others. They are so acutely mentally ill in the moment. The problem is that we don't have enough room in our psychiatric health facility, otherwise known as PUF. And it's been at 16 for forever. And sometime in the next few years, we may get 4 more units. But in the meantime, we send people out of town, usually to Vista Del Mar and Ventura, and they have just shut down their pub pretty much. We will no longer be accepting, they will no longer be accepting our mentally ill. So it's like sort of one step forward and 1.5 steps back. So we are making progress. What we are seeing is that the county jail, there's a real effort to reduce the number of mentally ill people in the county jail. At the county level, they just appointed Tanya Heitman, who was the former head of probation, as the number 2, and her whole focus is how do we keep people out of county jail who better need to be in treatment or recovery. So that I think has some real possibility. It's a little bit wonky and weedy, but I think it's going to move the needle.
No, and with, Josh's comment about the lack of local news, I mean, you really are doing the Lord's work in your coverage of this, which has gone on for, I mean, it's something that you really focus on and I think is a great a service. Josh, let me ask you about schools real quick. There were a couple of big education stories this year. For one thing, thanks to Sherry Ray and Moni Witt, the Santa Barbara Unified School District changed its the way it teaches reading, its literacy curriculum. So hopefully we'll see some bump in those scores, but also this ongoing battle between the teachers and the administration over there, which really got worse when the district somehow managed to underpay teachers by $6 million for the year. How big a deal do you think that's going to be in 2024?
Well, the Teachers Association, they are going 150% against the district, against the board, against Hilda Maldonado. This is not something that we've seen before. They are fueled by what happened in Los Angeles. They have a new SPTA president who is very aggressive, and it's going to get bad before it's going to get worse before it gets better. They're threatening strikes. They're putting the public pressure. They're packing the meetings. They are doing public records requests, and they're basically saying it's not even $6.7 million anymore. It's like $40 million over X amount of years that they've been underpaid. And they're contending that they've dropped below that 55% more than just this last year, that they've done it several years prior. So this is a huge deal. This isn't a continuation of what was happening with Hilda Maldonado and the fact that everyone on her cabinet board left or was asked to leave, and she has an entire new group around her except for John Vecchio. And so there's this loss of culture. City of Santa Barbara kind of dealt with turnover with these leadership positions a few years ago, but nothing like this. I mean, that historical knowledge just gone from the district. And so when things are good, right, all the cracks in the foundation don't show. But when you have your teachers angry and upset, all of the weaknesses, all of the problems come out. And so how is Hilda Maldonado going to deal with this? I mean, maybe they'll come to some agreement and they'll pay the teachers everything they wanted, but probably not likely. And so this is going to reflect poorly on her. And it's not going to be anymore just a a new strong leader coming into the district, there's too much. There's too many complaints. There's too many people upset with the leadership of the district and the board of trustees, by the way, who seemingly is managed by the superintendent, and that's not the way that it should be. The superintendent should, they should be managing the superintendent because they hire and fire, and it's flipped. So yeah, it's a huge deal. And how does this affect the students? Well, we know that the achievement gap, or they're calling it the opportunity gap, is big, and test scores are low, and ultimately the students suffer. If they go on strike, the students suffer, and the students are suffering now at the high school level because they stopped writing letters of recommendation, they stopped hosting clubs, and they stopped doing anything extra outside of paid class time, which hurts the students. And by the way, 3 walkouts, actually 4, La Colina as well, 3,000 students, that's huge. You don't see
Yeah,
that.
Josh, you're totally right. I mean, this is again with the housing. I think that's one of the really big stories. I mean, last year it was the whirly gig of everybody flying out the administration, and we saw a little bit more of that. But we've never seen the teachers so mobilized and engaged. And we've never seen the students walk out like that. 4 walkouts. I mean,
Yeah.
this is gonna be going on for some time.
All right. Hey, Meagan and Randy, let me just pivot on Josh's point about institutional knowledge and people going. I have 2 questions. One is, we had a new police chief this year, and she really took over at a very difficult time when we had that awful murder down at the wharf, Kelly Gordon. And I'm just interested in your take on how she's doing, and also, how she's doing working with the new commission, which was put in place after the George Floyd murder, to get some more transparency from the department.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Randy elaborate, but from everything I've heard and everything I've seen from her, she's done an absolutely fantastic job coming into a situation that required a lot of finesse and sensitivity, and to balance that obviously with effectiveness for serving our community. From the folks that I've spoken to on the commission, they're very happy with her. I've heard only good things, and she's been really engaged with the council as well. So from my perspective, she's had a great first year.
Yeah, Kelly's no shrinking violet, and she came from some pretty serious departments down south, including Ramparts and Monterey Park.
Also severe,
So,
yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, she came into that thing. She got a little bit of heat. I got a little bit of heat about not coming out and talking about that the murder down at the wharf. Well, the thing was, they were in the middle of doing a police investigation, and in fact, they got all the bad guys. So that was just good, solid police work and keeping keeping the information where it should be at the time. But I think my greatest example just happened recently, where the 2 cops came in and did a domestic check-in call, whatever. The guy came out from behind and pointed a gun at him, and rather than open fire, they managed to de-escalate the situation down to where everything got taken care of and nobody got hurt. That takes a lot of training, courage, and patience. That's the kind of culture she's got going over there. And I think I agree with Meagan. She's done a fabulous job of making a really good community police force even that much better.
All right. And let me ask you 2 real quick. Who's going to be the next city administrator?
Oh, me. No.
Yeah, Randy and Meagan. I hear you're backing DOS. Is that true?
All the way to the end.
She has to. It's yeah. No, we're actually going to be. We're actually completing right now it's a nationwide search. We'll be getting together on the 9th with our council colleagues, the Mayor Pro Tem Alejandro Gutierrez, and next year's Pro Tem Mike Jordan, and I. We're working with the consultant, and we're narrowing down the candidates, and we're going to present them to council, and then we'll see what happens. But it's been an exhaustive search, a lot of interest, and a lot of very, very qualified people. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to come up with something pretty good here.
That's
Alright.
actually, that was my biggest story for 2024, Jerry, is this new city administrator. I think it's probably one of the single biggest decisions we as a council will make, and the implications are multi-year for the choice that we pick, you know, so that's my big story for the next year.
All right, Lily, what do you what are you looking at? What should we be on the lookout for in 2024 from your perspective?
Kind of like I said for 2023, I mean, this upcoming year is El Nino, so probably going to be a big weather year for sure. I mean, it's already looking that way. Yeah, that would be my best guess.
All right, Hap, what are you looking
Well,
for in 2023?
Well, I had undercovered stories. I mentioned the police chief on my notes. And I thought we really hadn't covered.
Well, that's why Newsmakers is here, Hap.
Right, because I mean, she came in and she's got a whole new, you know, I don't know if you call them cabinet, but leadership team, and she's moved people around, and I don't think anybody realizes. And I think the other one that I was undercovered was
Are you still one of those brown shirts that
no
patrols downtown? No,
No, I volunteered for the police department for 3 or 4 years, and that's not the red shirts. That's different. They gave me an actual uniform and a police badge and a radio and a key to the police
and you
department.
looked
Then they
very
wised up
fetching.
and I
You looked
retired.
very fetching in it, I want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Well, I got a lot of laughs. But I did enjoy doing videos with the interim police chief Barney Malakian. When Barney retired again, that's when I took a chance, and then I joined the city's civil service commission. So now I can rule on the civil service issues. It's been over a year since I've been a volunteer at the police
All right,
department.
we look forward
But-
to your coverage.
But stories, I think an interesting story is UCSB and housing. And you know, they got rid of Dormzilla, but I don't know what happened with Munger's money, whether it was tied to Dormzilla or not. Then you know,
He took it with
Munger-
him.
and he
He took
died. He
it with
finally
him.
died at 99. And I don't know if he committed that money to housing at UCSB or not, or how much he's left in his estate to UCSB and what the terms and conditions are. But my other part about that is I'm really curious. They haven't met their housing goals, and I can't even remember there's a lawsuit about them for housing, right, Nick or Josh? So how?
Yeah.
But my question ongoing as a lapsed journey is what's the penalty or the you know, what's going to be
What's
the
the remedy,
resolution if
huh?
they fail to make? They're obviously not going to meet their housing goals that are mandated. So what's their comeuppance for that? What's the penalty or the remedy? And I don't know. I have no idea what it is, but you know, you can't compel them to maybe
All
they
right.
can buy a couple motels.
All right, that's a good one to keep an eye on. Josh, I was actually astonished that you didn't say the biggest story of the year was Jacob Molina winning the state mock trial competition. But I know he's already running around the track up there at Berkeley for mock trial as well. But what do you think is going to be the biggest story of 2024?
Well, before that, I want to just circle back to the Friday Night Lights story. I changed my background because I always like to support journalists and journalism, and you know, some of the council members when I can. But Lily's Friday Night Lights story in like journalism like circles, and I know for her personally was a huge deal because hours and hours and hours, and you can read it, multimedia, photos, video, audio, and words about basically a story no one else would have ever touched. If she did not write it, no one would have ever done it. And that's the great thing about journalism. Of course, now everybody loves flag football, but you read it first with Lily Dallow's story. So the biggest stories I think next year are going to be what's going to happen with the teachers in Santa Barbara Unified and Hilda Maldonado. Will Hilda survive this? Will it all go away? Will they all, as Nick says, sing Kumbaya and hug once they reach a new contract? That I think is a huge deal. I think the 3rd District Santa Barbara County Supervisors race is going to be an interesting one to cover. I mean, I think you still have to say that Joan Hartman, because she does have the support of the Democratic Party, is the favorite. But you do have Frank Troyce, who theoretically is going to start running a campaign in January with a lot of money. And then Janelle Osborne, the Lompoc mayor, possibly splitting votes, and however that math could turn out. But with Isla Vista factored out of the 3rd District, if we see that that seat swing, that will be very significant for policy in Santa Barbara County. And of course, Paseo Nuevo, housing, that all ties together. Housing is the big story. And so like Nick said, La Cumbre Plaza, Paseo Nuevo downtown. And are we ever going to demolish that mall? I hope not. No, I love the mall. I know we need housing, but I hope they keep like some of the main parts of the architecture of that mall, because it is pretty beautiful, even though there are fewer people using it. So, and also, I don't know, I think it was John Paul Monteri who reported that the city was talking with the news press about buying the building. I don't know anything about that, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. That would be a huge deal if Santa Barbara somehow took over that little block.
Nick, what are you looking for in the new year?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, you know, somebody touched on this before. Can you hear me now? Somebody touched on this before.
Get a little closer to your
the
microphone
loss
there.
of the news. The loss of the news press. You have the Sansom Clinic. Yeah, I mean, this pisses me off. Sorry.
Yeah, turn your video. There.
Sansom Clinic being bought up by
Oh yeah, that's a big one, huh?
the Franciscans. You can't hear me? Yeah, the Franciscans are about to declare bankruptcy. And you know, these are sort of foundational, you know, to the warp and weave of Santa Barbara. And it's sort of a slow erosion of sort of the defining institutions. You know, when you look at City College and you go, we have a new president there, and for $1,500, can anybody here give me her name other than you, Josh? We've had 5 presidents over there since 2019. And, you know, it's a great school. And, you know, I think it's still a great school. But, huh?
Go for it.
It's just, yeah, everything is spinning.
All right. Okay. Randy, you're last in this, but I gotta say, I think, isn't the one big story?
I'm done.
Okay. Okay. Isn't one big story going to be a political story anyway? Are we going to vote on this charter amendment, this no bid contract thing that we keep hearing about? And also, I wonder if that our neighborhood voices, that local initiative, is going to qualify sometime to get rid of all this stupid Scott Wiener housing legislation that Megan's so enamored of. What are you looking for in 24?
Oh gosh, you know, well, I want to really, you know, dig down deep and find out if Meagan Harmon and the Coastal Commission really do hate children and are climate change deniers with their votes against.
We just hate sports.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was accused of being a child hater when I thought that putting a water feature in the De La Guerra Plaza was a dumb idea. And so now I look at it, I go, she wants to close down the playgrounds for 4 months out of the year so we could put some more fertilizer and water on them. So, but no, I mean, the our neighborhood voices thing is a grassroots movement. You know, it's interesting. I've followed it a little bit. You know, kind of like it. I've spoken to those folks. So, because everybody's a little bit, you know, worried about the large hand of Sacramento coming down and just, you know, indiscriminately just, you know, quashing all these communities with their ideas and whatnot. Karen Bass has her initiative down to the coastal zone of Los Angeles as well, about, you know, just building housing as if it were just builder's remedy kind of stuff. So that's that thing. And then, you know, obviously we've got, you know, housing is tops on everybody's list. State Street is certainly tops on my list, which, you know, because I live right here. This is where I am. And it's, you know, it's something we have to resolve, and we got to, you know, get away from finger pointing and get away from ideas and public polling and the kind of way we go. This is a professional planning and circulation and engineering effort. We've got to look at it this way. We've got to bring businesses back. We have to catch back up with other areas that have rebounded retail wise, and we've not. We're still atrophying, and that's not a good thing. We've got to move the needle back the other way.
Well, Megan, what did you give us your predictions here first, or whatever you want to say, because you always manage to say whatever you want to say, regardless of what the question.
Regardless of the question.
Yeah, how wrong she is. Yeah.
No, I actually agree. Though my lens is different, I agree with what Randy said. I mean, this is, I think, a year full of possibility for us, and we do have a responsibility to encourage business growth, and it's for the benefit of our whole community. So that's a priority for me as well, and it's going to make the promenade so much better. So I'm all in for it.
Not a high bar.
When was the last time you were there?
A couple of weeks ago. All right, Josh is raising his hand, which is really polite.
Well, I'm trying to extract myself from the good-natured humor that we all have here, and like think of like the viewers watching. And so objectively, I just want to say, and I'll probably regret this, but notwithstanding our commentary on Councilmember Harmon, covering her, writing about her, reporting, watching her every Tuesday, I wouldn't want to say that regardless of where she stands on the issues, it's great for a journalist because she's articulate and makes her point, and she's quick and she doesn't go on, and she really gets these issues. And so from a journalistic perspective and point of view, regardless of whether we're pro-housing or not, I'm so happy she's on that 7-member board. I'll just say that, because she makes our job as journalists a lot easier to cover. So Jerry, I think you should give credit where it's due. And
Gosh, that's enough to make a hog puke.
Not just comment on, all the negative, but focus on the positive. And Randy's awesome too.
One
All
friend
right, I
of
want to
the
go.
channel.
I want to go around real quick. One word answer. Who's going to be the next president of the United States? It's Lily Dallow.
Pass.
Oh my
No,
God.
you can't pass. You're not allowed to pass. Come on. I'll tell you. I'll give you a hint. Who's running? Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
I guess I'd have to go with Biden.
All right, one Biden. Josh.
Meagan Harmon. Sorry, I had to. Okay. I guess like objectively, there's really like polling, Biden is not going to win. It's going to be really tough for him to win. So we might be in a situation where if Trump is the nominee, he's going to be president again. Obviously, I would take Biden over Trump a billion times over, as terrible as Biden is.
All right, he's not terrible, but anyway, go ahead. What do you think, Hap?
My prediction is that the final ballot in November, then either Biden or Trump will not be on it. And I also think that the Dodgers are going to set a record for wins and not win the World Series.
Yeah, well,
Can go undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah,
could
that's
be.
for sure.
Get
Nick,
swept.
Who's the next
I think that
president?
either Biden or Trump won't be on the final ballot.
Wow, why? Somebody's going to die?
I don't know. Die, go to jail, choke on a hamburger, fall off. I don't know. I just have a
Right.
hunch. It looks too
Sounds
packed.
like Alex Jones
All
now.
right.
Come on.
Hap votes for exogenous event.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Trump on that one. Or with Hap on that one. I think that Trump. It's inconceivable to me that he's going to do it again. However, I've been wrong so many times in the past that I would not listen to anything I have to say on it. But I would go with none of the above. We're gonna get the exogenous answer.
All right, Randy, what do you think?
Well, I very rarely agree with Nick, but I agree with him on this one. None of the above is my preferred choice. I was kind of hoping that Nikki Haley and or Chris Christie would actually raise up a little more in the polls and give that party a fighting chance, because the Democrats don't seem to be interested in doing anything else. And obviously they want to support their incumbent, but boy, oh boy, this is getting really discouraging as we go on.
All right, Megan.
I don't think we want to be supporting Nikki Haley, Randy. Not with recent. Not if she can't answer a basic question about the civil.
Slavery, right.
Matter of semantics, my boy, purely semantics. But I got to say,
It's a
if
matter of
you got to
hypocrisy.
go beyond one thing and look at a body performance and things like that, she has some chops. So does Christie, but Christie's got Bridgegate. I mean, which one of those guys is going to be squeaky clean? You
Either
tell
one of them, I would, in a heartbeat, be prefer. But Megan, what do you think? You're a shrewd political analyst.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to say it, but I agree with Josh. I think it's going to be Trump. I mean, and I say that in large part because I go to the grocery store every week and groceries are so expensive. And I hang out with my mom friends and we're all progressive, liberal. And if, 35-40% of every conversation is complaining about how expensive everything is now, that doesn't bode well, I think, for sort of the general electorate. So I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, you have managed to lurch into the truth here, Harmon. It is
Like
high
a stopped
prices,
clock.
groceries, gasoline, and housing. Indeed, that is gonna, even though inflation is not really raging, prices are still high and they're not gonna go down. So yes, the correct answer is Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. So all who
Make me
watch
sick.
this show should get busy on their dual citizenship applications. I know, Hap, you're working on Portugal already.
My wife has dual citizenship, so that's good. Maybe she'll take me with her.
Some of us have other ideas. But anyway, thank you all so much for taking the time to talk about 2023 and 2024 and for all you've done for the show this year. Lily Dallow, Josh Molina, Hap Freund, as always, Nick Welsh, Mayor Randy Rowse, and Council Member Meagan Harmon. Congratulations on your good news. We'll all look forward to it. That's, before you know it, you'll have enough votes to be elected mayor just from your own.
Or else she's causing a housing crisis all by herself.
That's as many votes as she got last time, so it'll be perfect.
Burn.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Jerry.
We will see you in 2024.